The coaches we're about to talk about might not be on the hot seat entering 2023 season, but they definitely got something to prove. Let's bring on coaching insider Jesse Simonton to talk about 5 coaches that are feeling the pressure heading into the 2023 season. Who we talking about? We're talking about Jimbo Fisher, Steve Sarkisian, Ryan Day, Billy Napier, Mario Cristobal, and Brent Venebles. Let's start right there at the top with Jimbo Fisher. Texas A&M coming off of a 5-win season. Kind of shocking for Jimbo Fisher, but he hired an offensive coordinator, Bobby Petrino, so things are supposed to be better in 2023. Jesse, why do you think Jimbo Fisher's feeling the pressure heading into the next season?
Well, it's funny. I mean, he's got 75 million reasons to feel fine because he's got the greatest kind of parachute of any college coach in the country right now. But this is a guy that was brought to College Station to win national championships, and he hadn't even won 10 games but one time. And so the fact that they've been terrible offensively, regressed the last few years, he's got to put up or shut up this season. The good news for him, they have lost 30 players to the transfer portal, but they returned the 7th most production of any team in college football, according to ESPN. This is a team that returns Connor Wegman at quarterback, Anaya Smith back at receiver, and all those 5 stars up front on defense. So if they can put it together, I think Fisher can at least start to maybe build something where 2024 is that season where maybe Texas A&M's thinking college football playoff.
Let's move on to Steve Sarkisian at Texas. He went 8-5 in 2022. That's not exactly equating to Texas being back. So Steve Sarkisian goes out, gets Arch Manning. They're head of the SEC. So much good is going on around the program, so much excitement. Yet Steve Sarkisian's feeling the pressure heading into the 23 season. Why?
Because he's never won 10 games before. This is a guy who's coached at USC, Washington, and now Texas, and he's never won double-digit games. He's won 9 games one time. There's a perception reality. There's a perception reality thing going on with Sark, where because of what he's done as an offensive coordinator, the fact he's spent time in the NFL, I think, and the fact that he's coached at these various blue bloods, I think there's people that think that he's a better, higher upside ranking in the top 10 coaches in the country. And that's simply not the case. He does have the quarterback with not only, obviously Arch Manning, but Quinn Ewers. I mean, this is a guy who was the number 1 player in the country 2 years ago. Young offensive line that were full of freshmen a year ago, should be seasoned sophomores. Obviously, they have all those playmakers, just got A.D. Mitchell from Georgia. Texas should win the Big 12 in 2023 and kind of get that runway going before they play in the SEC in 2024.
All right, guys, Jesse and I are going to keep talking coaches, but take a second right now to subscribe to the On3 YouTube page. We're trying to grow this thing, and it would be a great help if you smash that subscribe button. All right, moving on to Ohio State coach Ryan Day. The Buckeyes keep making the playoffs, but they also keep losing to Michigan. Is that the reason why Ryan Day is feeling some bit of pressure heading into the 23 season?
Ryan Day was built, what is it, born on third base? That's what Jim Harbaugh joked with him. And the fact that Ohio State fans are kind of making these John Cooper comparisons. Because, again, this is a guy who's lost 5 games. That's it, 45 wins, 5 losses. But you lose to Michigan in back-to-back seasons. It's really national championship or beat the Wolverines. That's what Ohio State fans want. And the fact that hasn't happened under Ryan Day, he of anyone on this list probably has the greatest job security. But the pressure is on him to deliver this national championship. Urban Meyer did it. Can he do it? The fact that Michigan, I think, is probably going to be the favorite in the Big Ten in 2023 kind of ups the ante a little bit too. He's not feeling the heat like Sark and Fisher and some of these other guys. But Ryan Day has to deliver, or else Ohio State fans are going to continue to get angsty.
Angsty is a good way to put it. All right, now we're moving on to these next 2. Let's lump Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal together. Of course, they're first-year head coaches. They didn't get off to a great start. They're by no means are they on the hot seat. But why should Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal be feeling the pressure heading into year 2?
Mario Cristobal is an interesting candidate in kind of this situation that we're looking at because he's going to get a lot of rope down in Coral Gables because he was the prodigal son. They brought him home. They've invested this 10-year contract, obviously trying to build up the facilities. But the fact that it's been such a chaotic first 12 months down in Coral Gables, 2 new coordinators, constant churn on the rest of the coaching staff, And I think, honestly, if you gave Mario some truth serum, he probably wishes he kind of culled some of the roster a little more than he did in his first season than he has, going into year two. So it's going to be kind of an odd dynamic because I think some Hurricanes fans expect them to compete for the ACC in 2023, and that's just not realistic. This is a team that, honestly, facing the schedule they have and with the roster right now, I think they'd be fortunate to win, 7-8 games. And so they need to improve the offense. They obviously need to get more out of Tyler Van Dyke, but 2024 is probably when we should really start to see what Mario Cristobal's program looks down at Miami. As for Billy Napier, he's probably the most interesting person on this entire list just because he's not going to get the rope that Mario's going to get down in Coral Gables. It was, it's been kind of a disastrous year one in Gainesville too. First back-to-back losing season since Jimmy Carter was president. The whole Jaden Rashada saga. And the fact that, Napier was given huge facility investments, the army of support staffers, big recruiting budget, and he delivered a nice recruiting class. But when you compare it to Florida's rivals, the fact that Georgia signed 8 or 9 guys in the top 20 players in the Sunshine State, and Florida signed 2 or 3, it's not sustainable. That's not how you're going to close the gap. And so, the fact that Napier's now having to get a new defensive coordinator, tons of roster churn there. It's going to be a really interesting, 2023 down in Gainesville, just because I think, again, I used angsty for Ohio State. I think there's more kind of consternation and frustration with some of the stuff that's going on down in Gainesville.
All right, another coach is heading into year 2 with something to prove is Brent Venables. Started off at Oklahoma with a 6-win season. He's feeling a little bit of pressure, huh, Jesse?
Yeah, if Florida is kind of an aging Ferrari, I think Oklahoma is just like the nicest old school, Mustang you can think of. But again, you got to get under the hood and get a new engine. You can't just slap a fresh pair of paint and new tires on that thing and think you're going to get rolling. Venables found that out the hard way. This was a defensive line that was just bereft of kind of Big 12 talent, and so they felt it. I mean, they got sliced and diced. They had their first losing season since 1998. I think they're going to be a team that's kind of, again, similar to Texas, kind of on the rise in 2023. Venables is recruited really well this offseason. He obviously kind of mined the transfer portal for those very pass rushers and defensive linemen. And so I think you got Jackson Arnold at quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. We'll see who wins that battle. But I like kind of the Sooners' upside, and for Venables to maybe kind of, prove that year one was not the year one that obviously anyone wanted at Oklahoma, but they're going to kind of get back to that stability that so many people are used to up in Norman.
Yeah, a lot of coaches that we just talked about might not be on the hot seat, but they definitely have something to prove in 2023. Jesse Simonton. We're going to come back next Wednesday and do this Coach's Corner again. Love talking coaching with you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Josh.
See ya. Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.